During dinner with my son, I discovered an incredible secret. Get up, don't tell him a thing. The kitchen was alive with the rich scent of Tom's famous spaghetti, a dish that had become their weekly tradition. As the golden rays of the setting sun poured through the window, Jake's laughter filled the air, a sound that Tom had come to cherish profoundly. There was something magical about moments like this, the warmth, the familiarity, the easy banter that flowed between them like a river of love. But tonight that river felt dammed. Beneath the laughter, an unexpected tension twisted through the air, a silent cry begging to be heard. Tom watched Jake twirl the spaghetti on his fork, his bright eyes momentarily shadowed. It was subtle, perhaps a flicker, yet it gripped Tom's heart. "What's wrong, buddy?" He let the question hang in the air, charged with concern. Jake paused, his gaze dropping. Was it school? Friends? Tom's stomach knotted at the thought. He needed to draw out whatever was festering beneath the surface. "Just stuff," Jake finally mumbled, his voice barely above a whisper. Tom felt a tightness in his chest. Their little home, filled with love and warmth, suddenly felt too small, too suffocating. With a deep breath, Tom prepared to share his idea of organizing a community fundraiser, an event to help the local school struggling under financial pressures. But Jake's silent struggle felt like a weight that eclipsed his plans. "Dad, I've been standing up for someone," Jake blurted out, tearing a crack in the tension. As Tom leaned in, his heart raced with pride mingled with fear. "There's this kid in my class. He gets bullied because his family doesn't have as much." Jake's voice cracked, and Tom felt a lump swell in his throat. His son at just 12 was grappling with the ugly truth of inequality, a burden no child should carry. "Why didn't you tell me?" Tom pressed gently. He wanted to be the support Jake needed, the rock he could lean on. "I'm proud of you for standing up for him," he added, feeling the unfurling joy of a father's heart, yet swiftly lacing it with concern. They spoke about courage, morals, and the weight of standing up against injustice, emotions flowing like spaghetti sauce over simmering pasta. Before they could solidify plans to create a big event, a rally for awareness that would draw in neighbors, teachers, and local businesses, a sudden chill swept through the room. "Get up, don't tell him a thing." That voice, a neighboring dad, rang like a warning bell through their discussions, slicing through the moment. Tom froze, electricity coursing between him and Jake. What did that mean? Would fear silence them just when their voices had begun to resonate? The plates sat abandoned as anxiety clouded the room. Tom exchanged glances with Jake, their bond now charged with urgency. In that pivotal moment, the heart of their journey hung in the balance. Would they forge ahead together, or would fear force them apart? Tom's heart raced with uncertainty, a heavy weight settling on his chest. He glanced at Jake, whose eyes mirrored his own confusion. "Dad, what does that mean?" Jake asked, his voice tremulous, the spaghetti forgotten as he leaned forward, seeking answers. Tom opened his mouth but struggled to find the words. He'd never been great at deciphering cryptic messages, least of all when it came to protecting his son's innocent spirit. "I think someone just got a little too wrapped up in our conversation," he finally offered, forcing a smile. But the words felt hollow, flimsy against the palpable fear that had seeped into their cozy kitchen. A chill penetrated the warm glow of the evening, and Tom couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. He remembered the boy Jake had mentioned, the one who faced bullying. How was he supposed to safeguard his son's tender conscience while dealing with the dark corners of human behavior? The weight of parenting pressed heavily down on him. "We shouldn't let fear stop us from doing what's right, Jake. Standing up for others is brave. It's the right thing to do." Jake nodded slowly, though uncertainty still clouded his expression. "But what if something bad happens? What if I make it worse for him?" Tom reached across the table and clasped Jake's hand in his. "You are a light in this world, son. Sometimes standing up means you have to shine brighter, even in the darkest moments." The tension hung between them, both a wall and a bridge. Just then there was a sudden knock on the door that made them both jump. Tom's heart raced anew. He exchanged a glance with Jake, and they both instinctively rose. Something in the atmosphere held them both captive. "Stay here," Tom instructed softly, but Jake was already moving towards the door, a wave of determination washing over him. "I want to know." As he opened the door, Tom's mind raced. What if it was the father next door, the one who interrupted their meal? A part of him hoped it wasn't. When he opened the door, He was met not by the looming figure he feared, but by the small, wide-eyed face of the very boy Jake had spoken up for earlier. "Can I come in?" The boy's tremble was evident, and his eyes darted nervously behind him, as if he feared being followed. "Of course," Jake said, stepping aside. His earlier hesitation washed away. Tom watched as the two boys exchanged glances. A language of understanding passed between them. "Are you okay?" Jake asked softly, a protective instinct awakening within him. The boy nodded but lingered at the threshold. "Can we talk? It's about what you said about standing up." His voice was shaky, but there was something undeniably courageous about it. "Let us sit at the kitchen table. There's plenty of spaghetti," Tom offered with an encouraging smile, hoping to ease the tension. As they migrated toward the table, Tom could feel the warmth creeping back into the room. Maybe this unexpected moment could lead them further down the path they've begun. Yet fear still loomed. Whatever had caused that warning shout still echoed in the back of his mind. "Jake, what if we took this moment to help him? What we talked about earlier, we can rally together." Tom's heart surged at the possibilities. He looked at Jake, who in turn looked at the boy, a newfound determination igniting in both their eyes. But just as hope began to bloom, a new voice flickered at the edges of Tom's awareness, a whisper of danger that floated ominously in the air. What if someone wasn't just warning but watching them? "Dad, what if that voice?" Jake began, but Tom softly interjected. "We will figure it out together, right?" The uncertainty hung in the air like a heavy fog, but inside, something else ignited a spark of possibility. As they settled down at the table, Tom knew that their journey was about to take a turn he hadn't anticipated. But the path forward pulsated with both hope and fear, leading them into the unknown. What secrets would unfold next? And would they be too late to protect those they cherished? Jake's pulse quickened as he slid into his chair, staring at the boy who had come seeking comfort and answers. The kitchen, once a sanctuary, felt fragile now, like a bubble waiting to pop. Tom could sense the urgency etched on Jake's face, a mix of anxiety and resolve that pulled at his own heartstrings. "So what did you want to talk about?" Jake asked, nervously pushing his spaghetti around his plate. The boy took a deep breath, his small frame shaking ever so slightly. It's about the kids at school, the ones who make me feel small." He hesitated, as if debating whether to go on. "I heard you talk about standing up, and I thought maybe I could do something." Tom leaned in, his heart swelling with pride at Jake's courage while a heavy knot lurked in his stomach. "You're already doing something just by being here. Takes courage to reach out." "We're here for you," he said, looking at the boy earnestly. "Sometimes I just feel so alone," the boy admitted, wiping a tear that threatened to spill from his eye. "Like no one cares. But then Jake said something and I felt like maybe I'm not." His voice quivered, but each word carved its way into their evening. "Not just the two of yous," Jake chimed in, his voice gaining strength. "We can all stand together. You're not alone and neither am I. We can make a difference." Tom's chest swelled at the connection building between the boys. He feared how hard it might be, but the compassion swirling between them all lit a flicker of hope. The mood shifted, tension coiling slightly as they dove into plans and dreams of how to stand up against bullying, forming a small club, maybe even talking to a teacher. There were smiles, laughter, and a budding resolve. Yet the specter of the ominous voice still loomed over Tom, making him hyper-aware of every sound, every shadow that flickered in the corner of his eye. "Hey," Tom interjected after a moment, feeling a pressing need to ensure they tread carefully. "Just promise me that if things get tough out there, you'll come back and talk to us. Both of you. Always." Both boys nodded, their heads bobbing in determined agreement. But right then the faint rustling outside the kitchen window snagged Tom's attention. He turned, his heart dropping. There it was again, the itch at the back of his mind. Shadows lurked beyond the glass, an unsettling reminder that their brave conversation might not be safeguarded. "Did you guys hear that?" Tom's voice came out steadier than he felt. Jake looked at him, eyes wide with question, while the boy at the table shrank back slightly. The comforting warmth of their discussion felt cold now, twisted with unease. "Maybe it's just the wind?" Jake offered weakly. "No," Tom whispered, inching toward the window with cautious steps. "Feels different." He peered out, straining to see past the sudden gripping shadows that had cast the porch in darkness. Just behind the tree line, a figure emerged for a brief second, their movements jerky and unnatural. The hairs on Tom's arms raised in warning. His instincts surged to life, raw and primal. It's the boy's feelings that matter, Tom reminded himself. Knowing this was about more than just standing against bullies. It was about keeping the kids he loved safe. Stay here, he instructed softly, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. I'll check it out. Jake's eyes widened. No, Dad. What if Jake? Tom interrupted. We can't let fear control us. As Jake's protests faded into silence, Tom felt the weight of his fatherly responsibilities settle onto him like a cloak of steel. He took one last look at the two boys before stepping outside, ready to confront whatever threat loomed just beyond the periphery. But deep inside he couldn't shake the feeling that something much darker was about to emerge. What awaited them in the shadows, and would it change everything they stood for? The cool night air wrapped around Tom like a shroud as he stepped outside. The familiar creak of the porch planks felt unsettling underfoot, a stark contrast to the warmth of the kitchen he'd just left. He turned his focus to the darkened tree line, where the figure had vanished. Heart racing, he strained his ears, listening to the hush that enveloped the yard, punctuated only by the rustle of leaves. With each step into the shadows, an instinctual pull had him on high alert. Was it possible the figure meant harm? Or were they simply lost, drawn to the house by the frequency of laughter and conversation? Doubt clawed at his mind, tinged with the protective instinct to shield his boy and the other child inside. Hello? His voice trembled, a sound swallowed by the night. A few fireflies danced in the distance, illuminating the corner of his vision for just a brief moment. He squinted, trying to pierce the darkness. But nothing. Just the chill of the breeze and the haunting silence that seemed to expand around him. He was about to turn back when a low rustling echoed from the bushes ahead. Tom froze. There was definitely something or someone there. Who was there? He called out, steeling himself for whatever might emerge from the shadows. This was no longer just about fear. It was about standing firm in the face of uncertainty for the boys inside. A figure stepped out from the darkness, and Tom's instincts flared. Stay back, he demanded. But the silhouette froze, hands raised as if to show peace. Please, a voice emerged, quavering and young. I didn't mean to scare you. Tom's heart thudded in recognition as he took a cautious step closer, squinting in an attempt to see clearly. The boy from school, the one who'd been the target of bullying, stood in front of him, delving into the shadows like an apparition. What are you doing out here? Tom asked, trying to mask his surprise and concern with calmness. You should be home. It's late. I wanted to see if you were okay, the boy stammered, his gaze darting nervously. I saw you talking to Jake and the other guy. I know it's south, not my place, but I felt scared. I didn't want you to be alone. Scared of what? Tom's voice softened as he realized the layers of fear wrapped around the boy. Of the kids who bully me, he said, his voice trembling. If I stand up to them, I'm afraid they'll come after me even more. I thought if I came here I could, maybe, get some courage. The boy's voice faded as raw vulnerability coursed through the air. Tom felt a wave of empathy wash over him. Courage comes from understanding you're not alone, he replied gently. And we don't fight alone either. You have Jake and you have me. But the boy flinched, a shadow passing over his face. What if they find out? What if I make things worse? What if staying silent is what makes things worse? Tom countered, feeling urgency in his chest for the boy's life, his safety. Here was a chance to show him the power of connection, even amid fear. At that moment, Tom's thoughts flickered back to Jake and the other boy waiting inside. Courage blooming between them all like the fragile stem of a flower insisting on growing through the cracks of concrete. He wanted to protect them, nurture that bond, but this also needed to grow beyond the confines of their kitchen. Let us go inside, Tom said, signaling the boy to follow him. Together we can figure this out. But you've got to promise me to speak up, okay? When it gets tough, you have to reach out. Boys need support and you deserve it. As they walked toward the kitchen, Tom couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was looming, something that would challenge their very notions of safety, perhaps inadvertently leading him to the secrets that hid in the shadows. What would each boy reveal, and would the conversation inside change everything they ever believed about friendship and standing strong together? The kitchen exuded warmth, a stark contrast to the chill that clung to Tom's skin. The scent of the stew his partner had prepared filled the air, a comforting reminder of home amid the tension. Tom motioned for the boy to take a seat at the small table, his heart pounding with each step he took. He was aware that they were about to delve into something much deeper than mere reassurances. Jake looked up from his coloring at the sight of the newcomer. His expression flickered from surprise to curiosity as he filled the silence with an innocent, "Who's that, Dad?" "This is Alex," Tom replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "Yes, a friend from school." He avoided saying too much, sensing that Alex's fear would ripple through Jake if he pushed too hard. "Hi, Alex." Jake grinned, dimples deepening on his cheeks. It was a bright, hopeful smile that felt like a beacon in the brewing storm. But Tom saw the shadow pass over Alex's face. "Hey, Jake." The boy's voice barely rose above a whisper as he sat down, fingers twisting nervously in his lap. "What do you want to color?" Jake asked, completely unaware of the tension hanging in the air. He slid his crayons across the table. Tom felt a gentle warmth in the boy's innocence. It was exactly what Alex needed to break the ice, but he also knew their conversation had to start. "Listen, Jake, can I talk to Alex for a minute?" "Sure, Dad." He grabbed a crayon and turned back to his paper, humming a tune like it was the most normal thing in the world. Tom leaned closer to Alex, keeping his voice low. "You did a brave thing coming here, but we need to talk about what's been happening at school. I can't help you if you don't share." The weight of Alex's predicament was suffocating. He shifted uncomfortably, glancing back at Jake. "I don't want him to worry. He looks up to me, you know? What if I tell you and it makes things worse for him?" Tom felt a pang of frustration. Pretending everything is okay isn't helping. You might think you're protecting him, but hiding the truth doesn't shield anyone from pain. You're trying to carry this alone and it's too heavy. Alex drew in a shaky breath and looked down, his brows furrowing. "It's just they call me names. They push me around. I think they get kicks off it. It's never ending. I want to fight back, but I don't know how. I thought maybe if I came here I could find the courage." Tom felt that familiar surge of protective instinct. Courage isn't always about fighting back. It's about standing up for what's right. You don't have to face them on your own. "I'll help you. We'll figure this out together. First, let us tell Jake what's going on. He deserves to know the truth just like you do." Just as Alex was about to respond, the front door swung open, and Tom's partner stepped inside. The warmth they brought with them sent a jolt of surprise through the room. "What's going on here?" they asked, eyes darting from the serious expressions on the two boys to Tom. Just to talk about school," Tom replied, but deep down, he knew this wasn't just an ordinary conversation. This was about taking a step into brave new territory, a place where they would all face the truth together. But as laughter floated in from the doorway, something electric tingled in the air. It felt like a promise of revelations yet to come, deep truths that would bind them closer or risk shattering their fragile bond. The door trembled slightly before swinging back shut, and Tom's heart skipped as he sensed a powerful emotion lurking just beneath the surface. What might this shared moment unravel? Was there a greater challenge ahead that none of them anticipated? As they all settled into the evening meal, Tom exchanged a glance with Alex, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavily between them. What other fears would be laid bare tonight? The stew bubbled softly in the pot, a reminder of a simpler time, yet the air thickened with uncertainty. As they gathered around the table, Jake continued to color, blissfully unaware of the deep currents swirling around them. "Dinner's ready," Tom's partner announced, their voice a welcome distraction. Jake looked up, his excitement palpable. "Yay, I'm starving." He put his crayons down, dashing to the counter where dinner awaited. It was the kind of enthusiasm that made Tom's heart swell, even as the knot in his stomach tightened. Tom glanced at Alex, who remained distant, his face still shadowed with worry. "You okay?" Tom whispered, his heart aching at the obvious fear etched across the boy's brow. Yeah, Alex replied, though the tremor in his voice betrayed him. "I just need a moment." He buried his face momentarily in his hands, as if the weight of the world had landed there. "Simon, let us get through dinner first," Tom encouraged gently, trying to mask his own unease. The last thing he wanted was for Alex to become overwhelmed in front of Jake. As they sat down, the laughter and chatter from their partner filled the space, a stark contrast to the serious matter at hand. Tom watched the way Jake animatedly shared stories about his artwork, his innocence a beautiful light against the looming darkness of Alex's reality. "I made a dinosaur," Jake exclaimed, holding up his drawing, pride bubbling through every word. "That's amazing, buddy," Tom said, his smile genuine. He wanted to capture these moments and bottle them up, but his focus kept shifting back to Alex, who sat unusually silent. "Hey Alex," Jake chimed, "do you like dinosaurs too?" Yeah," Alex stammered, looking almost pained. "They're really cool." His unease was evident, but Jake didn't seem to notice. "Cool. We should draw one together next time." Jake's enthusiasm was like a lifeline thrown into a stormy sea. "Yeah," Alex said, forcing a smile. "That sounds fun." Tom could feel the weight of the room change, like a sudden gust of wind shifting the atmosphere. Just as he considered how to steer the conversation back to talking, his partner broke through. "So, Alex, how is school treating you?" The question hung in the air, heavy and uninvited. Tom held his breath, hoping this wasn't the moment that would unravel everything. Alex's eyes darted around, caught off guard. It's okay," he replied, a drop of sweat forming on his brow. "I mean, it has its ups and downs." Jake leaned in closer, sensing the shift. "I know what that's like. Sometimes I get sad too when I can't color inside the lines." His innocent laughter echoed through the kitchen, momentarily breaking the tension. Tom's heart wrenched for Alex. "Sometimes it's not just the little things, Jake. Sometimes it's the big stuff that hurts," he interjected softly, feeling a wave of responsibility crash over him. Alex stared at Tom wide-eyed, as if weighing his next words. "Yeah, the big stuff hurts." His expression hardened slightly, a flicker of defiance igniting within. "But I'm learning to deal with it." "Like how?" Tom pressed gently, his gaze probing. Before Alex could respond, Jake jumped in. "Like the time I spilled juice on my drawing. I thought it was ruined, but Dad showed me how to fix it." Tom caught his partner's eye, the silent understanding between them growing deeper. "Exactly, and sometimes we just need to find the courage to ask for help." The words felt like a lifeline thrown to Alex, a reminder that he wasn't alone in his battle. Jake smiled brightly, oblivious to the weight of the conversation. "Yeah, help. We can all help each other." Just as Tom thought, he felt a shift of hope in the air. Alex's eyes darkened once more. "But what if asking for help only makes things worse?" His voice cracked, the vulnerability raw in its truth, that a tense silence settled around the table. Tom's heart raced, understanding that the path ahead was fraught with hidden dangers. The moment felt poignant, as though the world had momentarily stopped to listen. What revelations lay ahead, and how could they navigate this delicate web of trust and fear? Before Tom could answer, Jake piped up. "I think that's silly. Asking for help is brave." The innocence of his words hung in the air, a stark reminder of the battle between fear and hope. How would they move forward, and where would this raw honesty lead them next? The atmosphere in the kitchen was thick with a mix of warmth and tension. Jake, still buzzing with excitement over his drawing, hopped up and down in his seat. "Can we draw a big dinosaur tomorrow? Like one that's taller than the refrigerator?" His laughter rang out, pure and infectious, a light breaking through the anxious shadows. Tom looked at Alex, whose face remained a jumble of emotions: fear, hope, uncertainty. The boy's shoulders slumped as if he carried a burden far too heavy for his age. "Do you think we could?" Jake pressed, eagerness shining in his bright eyes. "I'm sure," Alex managed, his voice barely above a whisper. "I guess that could be fun." He offered a small smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. Tom could sense the internal battle waging inside him, and it twisted something deep in Tom's gut. "Let us make it a whole dinosaur party," Jake exclaimed, his fingers dancing in the air as if creating a magnificent masterpiece. "We could have snacks too. And everyone can come." The idea of a party hung in the air like an enticing promise, and for a brief moment, it seemed to brighten Alex's spirit. But then the shadows returned. "And what if nobody wants to come?" he mumbled, his tone dipping back into sadness. "Then we'll make it the best dinosaur party ever. Just the three of us," Tom chimed in, trying to draw Alex back into the light. "Some dino cake." He began to list decor ideas, but Alex interrupted. "But what if I don't draw it right?" he said suddenly, his voice trembling. "What if everyone laughs? What if it's not good enough?" Tom found himself grappling with the pain hidden in Alex's words. He could see how tightly the boy held onto his fears, like a life raft in a turbulent ocean. Alex, he spoke gently, leaning forward, it doesn't matter if it's perfect. What matters is that you tried. And that you had fun. But what if they still don't like me? The tears pooled in Alex's eyes, and Tom felt his own heart splinter. Then they're missing out on a really great person, Tom said, trying to keep his voice steady, warmth spilling from every word. You have a lot to offer just as you are. Jake nodded emphatically. Yeah, if they don't like the dinosaur, what's wrong with them? You're awesome, Alex. Alex's lips quivered slightly as he glanced between the two of them. The vulnerability of the moment was palpable. I don't know if I can handle it, he confessed, wringing his hands. Tom decided it was time to take a different approach. You know what helps me when I'm scared? He asked. I write down everything that worries me. Right after I take those worries, he gestured theatrically, and I toss them. Like they're just leaves in a breeze. Like magic? Jake's eyes sparkled. Exactly. You don't need to beat yourself up over what could go wrong. Tom smiled, but it felt heavy, intertwining with his own fear that perhaps Alex needed more than words. Alex opened his mouth, then closed it again, unsure but processing. I'll try that, he said finally, his voice gaining a bit of strength. Suddenly, their partner came back into the kitchen with a tray of steaming bowls. Dinner is served. Let us dig in while it's hot. As the warm stew filled bowls and familiar scents surrounded them, Tom couldn't shake the heaviness bolted in his chest. It felt like they were walking a tightrope suspended over an abyss of unknown challenges. Together, right? Jake said brightly, his laughter cutting through the stillness that had settled in Alex's heart. Together, Alex echoed quietly, a flicker of resolve flashing in his eyes. But as they all began to eat and Jake chatterboxed away about dinosaurs, Tom noticed Alex's hands trembling slightly as he lifted up the spoon. What would it take for Alex to feel safe enough to share the secrets that gnawed at his heart? And in that moment the question lingered. Would they find a way to pull Alex into the circle of support and love? Or would the shadows continue to obscure the truth? As the trio dug into their hearty stew, the comforting aroma wrapping around them like a warm blanket, Tom couldn't help but steal glances at Alex. The boy was stirring his food absent-mindedly, his gaze fixed on the bowl while Jake animatedly discussed how T-Rex could probably run faster than any other dinosaur. Tom enjoyed the sound of Jake's laughter but sensed the weight of silence sitting heavy atop Alex. Did you know that T-Rex had tiny arms? Jake said with wide eyes, trying to acknowledge Alex. They looked so funny, like they were saying, look at me. Alex's lips curved up a little at that, but his eyes still shadowed with worry. Tom wondered what thoughts swirled behind those troubled eyes. Was it the fear of not being good enough? Or something deeper that left him unable to truly join in? Yeah, they did. But I always thought that made them more awesome. Alex finally responded, his voice trembling slightly. He tried to sound upbeat, but Tom could hear the cracks. That's the spirit. Jake cheered, clashing his spoon against Alex's. See, you're already thinking like a dino artist. But as Jake rejoiced in the moment, Tom felt a prickle of fear. Was this a facade? Could joy truly break through the shadows? Or was this just a mask that Alex wore? The meal continued, punctuated by Jake's laughter and occasional stories about heroic dinosaurs. But Tom's worry amplified each time he saw Alex's reluctant attempts to participate. Finally putting his spoon down, Tom made a decision. Hey Alex, you know what I think? He started, his heart beating with nervous energy. I think you're holding on to something very special inside. What do you mean? Alex blinked, confusion flickering across his face. I mean that art is more than just how it looks on a page. It's about what it feels like to create it. If you can draw a dinosaur, that's amazing. But if you can draw from your heart, that's even better. Have you ever noticed how what makes you scared is often what makes you unique? Alex remained quiet, eyes darting down to his stew, contemplating. Tom could hear his heart racing. You want to get into trouble for being yourself, you know? No matter what they think. Yeah, we all have things that make us different, Jake added, his eyes shining with sincerity. If it's something inside you, let it out. We're here for you. But Alex just shrugged, pretending to be interested in his bowl, even as the tension in his shoulders whispered of a tempest brewing. Something deep within Tom stirred, a mix of compassion and urgency. Alex, is there something you're worried about? Something more than just a dinosaur drawing? He asked, risking his voice to nudge at the barrier that encased the boy. Tom's question turned the air electric, and all the warmth and laughter seemed to evaporate. Alex's breath hitched, and he looked up at Tom with startled eyes. Can we talk about it later?" he whispered, the vulnerability breaking through. "Of course," Tom said softly, his heart aching for the boy's plight. "Whenever you're ready." After dinner, as Jake raced off to the living room for another round of dino research, Tom stayed back, eyeing Alex thoughtfully. The boy seemed more distant than before, like a puzzle piece that refused to fit. Tom leaned closer. "Just remember, whatever you're feeling, you don't have to carry it alone. Not when you've got me and Jake." But Alex didn't respond immediately, lost in the depths as a heavy sigh slipped from his lips. The words he had yet to express were like gold dust, shimmering just beyond their grasp. Then, almost as if the air was carefully orchestrated, Alex took a deep breath, his gaze shifting towards Tom with a hint of resolve. "Okay, let us make those dinosaurs tomorrow." But about the other thing, Tom felt his breath seize for a moment as he braced for what might unfold. Would tomorrow open the door to a truth that could change everything? Would Alex's heart finally breach the fortress built by fear? And as that crucial moment lingered in the evening air, an impending sense of revelation hung just out of reach. The next morning crept in slowly, sunlight filtering through the curtains, casting gentle patterns across the floor. Tom was already awake, sipping his coffee and watching the world outside as it came to life. Birds chirped cheerfully while a gentle breeze danced with the leaves outside. But inside him, a storm was brewing. He glanced at the clock. It was time for breakfast. Jake was already bustling around, looking for his favorite cereal. "Hey Dad, can we have pancakes too?" Jake called out, his voice bubbling with excitement. "Sure, buddy. Pancakes it is," Tom replied, forcing a smile despite the weight on his heart. His thoughts were still wrapped around Alex and the unspoken words clinging to the air since last night. As the sweet smell of syrup began to fill the kitchen, Alex arrived, still half asleep, his eyes fuzzed with remnants of dreams. Tom loved how Alex looked in the morning, a little messy, a little lost, yet somehow more open. He stepped up to the table, rubbing his eyes, a hint of vulnerability softening his features. "Good morning, Alex. Want some pancakes?" Tom asked, knowing full well that breakfast was usually Jake's territory. "Sure, I guess," Alex mumbled, taking a seat across from Jake. The boy glanced at the stack of pancakes, but his demeanor was still guarded. Tom could feel the tension coiling tighter than ever. "After breakfast, can we draw those dinosaurs?" Tom prompted gently, keen to hold on to the thread of yesterday's hopeful moment. Alex hesitated, looking down at his pancakes. "Yeah, I'm ready. I want to make them awesome." "Awesome is perfect. I can't wait to see what you come up with," Tom encouraged, his heart swelling with hope. But there was a part of him that clung to worry, waiting for Alex to peel back the layers he had built. Jake, oblivious to the tension, began talking animatedly about his latest dinosaur discovery, how some could possibly have feathers instead of scales. The excitement in his voice filled the kitchen, a sunshine amid the heaviness surrounding Alex. "Feathers? Like birds?" Alex's curiosity sparked slightly, and Tom felt a flicker of light in the atmosphere. With his belly full of pancakes, Jake was more than ready for their creative excursion. "Yeah, imagine a T-Rex with colorful feathers. How cool would that be?" Jake exclaimed, his enthusiasm reeling Alex back from the shadows, if only for a moment. But the pull of fear still lingered in Alex's eyes when he met Tom's gaze. They shared a moment, electricity hanging between them, a silent agreement that today would be the day. Once breakfast was cleared away and their plates stacked neatly, the trio headed to the living room. Crayons and sketchpads scattered across the coffee table like a rainbow spilled out, ready for adventure. "Okay, draw your dinosaur first," Jake declared, grabbing his own pad with determination. Okay, Alex took a deep breath, picking up a bright green crayon, his fingers trembling lightly. Tom watched, heart pounding. It was a small step, but a crucial one. He sat beside Alex, drawing his own dinosaur alongside him. "What are you thinking?" he asked, trying to coax the words from Alex without pushing too hard. "I don't know, maybe a brachiosaurus? They're really tall and can see everything," Alex replied, eyes narrowing in concentration. "That sounds amazing. What if it had a little tree on its back? Tom suggested, wanting to add a touch of whimsy, but he could sense that there was still a wall around Alex's heart. And then, as if summoned by the creativity in the air, Alex finally began to share. Sometimes, I just feel too small. Like whatever I draw doesn't matter. He confessed, voice almost a whisper. The air thickened with urgency. Tom knew they were diving deeper together, and he couldn't let this moment slip through his fingers. Alex, what you create is special because it's yours. You being you is what matters, Tom urged, eyes locked onto Alex's. Remember, it's okay to feel scared. It's common for everyone. Alex's gaze flickered with uncertainty, the layers of his heart just beyond reach, but hope glimmered in his expression. I guess it's just hard sometimes. Then let us talk it through. We're all ears, buddy, Jake piped in, looking ready to support his friend. Tom's heart swelled. Could this be the breakthrough they needed? Would Alex finally let the words flow, breaking the dam of fear? As Alex took another deep breath, Tom could sense the world shifting again. A moment of truth hanging in the balance. Would vulnerability unlock what had been trapped for so long? And there they were, three hearts beating as one, waiting for the story of Alex to unfold. Alex hesitated, gazing down at his drawing, the words hanging precariously on the tip of his tongue. It was as if every crayon in the room had stilled, waiting in anticipation. It's just that. Sometimes it feels like no one really sees me. It's like I'm invisible, you know? His voice quivered, but now there was a spark of courage igniting within him. Tom shared a look with Jake, an unspoken understanding that this moment was pivotal. Alex, Tom began gently, you may feel small, but what you're doing today, that is huge. Art is a part of you, and sharing that is brave. We see you. We hear you. For a moment, Alex's expression transformed. The weight on his shoulders seemed to lighten as he absorbed Tom's words. Really? His eyes widened, like someone who had just glimpsed a beacon of hope through a thick fog. Absolutely, Jake chimed in, his voice bright and confident. I see you every day when you stand up for yourself and for others. That means you're bigger than you think. The warmth of their camaraderie washed over Alex, and he felt a flicker of connection that pushed back against the isolating shadows. But what if people are mean? What if they don't like my art? Or they make fun of me? He asked, the uncertainty creeping into his voice again. Tom leaned forward, heart pounding with empathy. Then they're missing out on something special. Not everyone will appreciate what you bring to the table, and that's okay. But there will be others who will. The most important thing is that you create for yourself, for how it makes you feel. Alex looked up, searching Tom's eyes for reassurance. So like if I draw a dinosaur and it's messy, it's still okay? A shyness clung to his words. Even more than okay, Tom replied, a grin spreading across his face. It's wonderful. You're expressing who you are, and that's a gift to the world. With that, Alex took a deep breath, his shaky confidence blooming. All right, I'm going to try and draw my dinosaur, and it's going to be awesome. Just like you said. He picked up his green crayon again, this time with newfound determination. As the room brightened with hopeful energy, Jake leaned over, excitedly pointing at Alex's paper. Let us give it a name too. How about we call it Alexosaurus? The bravest dinosaur ever. He adorned the name with doodles. Laughter erupted as Alex joined in, a smile cracking through the trepidation that had encased him. I like it. Alexosaurus sounds fierce. The weight on his heart lifted a little more, and he began drawing with colorful strokes, a subtle fearlessness emerging from him. Tom marveled at the transformation happening before him, a bloom of creativity stretching across the page and the walls of the boy's heart. You see that, Alex? You're not invisible. You're part of this, part of something truly special, he said softly. The laughter intertwined with their conversation, wrapping around them like a warm embrace. It was then that a thought struck Tom, a community event they had dreamed of. A larger purpose that could not only help others but might also give these boys a platform to shine. What if we hosted a drawing day at school? You could invite your friends to create and share their work just like we're doing now? Yeah. We could spread the word that everyone's art is important. It could be the first ever Alexosaurus Day. Jake shouted, his excitement infectious. Tom laughed, his heart swelling with pride for both boys. That's it. Standing together. We'll get teachers involved and support everyone just like we're doing here today. As they continued to brainstorm, Alex began to scribble his dinosaur onto the page, each stroke a declaration of his resilience. There was strength in his lines now, and the shadows that had loomed over him began to recede, revealing a bright spark of creativity. The conversation drifted to what they would need. Crayons, paper, snacks, ideas flowed effortlessly like the colors on Alex's page. It was a sweet symphony of laughter and inspiration, and the fear that had once clung to the air was replaced with an effervescent joy. Days turned into weeks, and what had begun as a simple drawing session blossomed into the first ever art for all day at school, with Alex front and center, filled with a bubbling excitement and quickened pulse. The event fostered a spirit of unity and celebration, showcasing the talents and creativity of every child just as Tom had envisioned. When the big day finally arrived, the school chorused with chatter and laughter as students displayed their artwork, joyously celebrating the individuality they shared. Tom stood back, watching Jake and Alex scurry around, their faces aglow with purpose. The worry had shifted to pride, the fear to triumphant laughter as the breeze rustled through the open doors. It carried with it a sense of possibility, a reminder that the bonds they had forged over spaghetti and crayons had grown into something monumental. Alex stood tall, heart racing with newfound confidence, as he shared his story with his peers, not just about art, but about the strength found in vulnerability and community. Together, he said, echoing the friendship they built, we can face anything. And in that joyous moment, on that beautiful sunny day, they discovered just how powerful it could be to let go of fear and embrace hope together. This is the moment you need to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. We want to hear from you. Comment your reactions and feelings about this heartfelt ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support means the world.